Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar, Managing PC and Mobility with Unified Endpoint Management. My name is Geeta Rao Prasad, and I am a Principal Marketing Manager here at Citrix. I'm joined today by Suzanne Dixon, Senior Director, Product Marketing at Citrix, and Amandeep Nagra, Citrix Workspace Product Marketing Expert. In today's session, we will dive into how you can deliver apps and data securely to users and how Unified Endpoint Management, UEM, helps solve challenges of traditional client management in the context of the new digital workspace. Before we go into the presentation, let me quickly review a few housekeeping details. We will have a live Q&A session towards the end of today's event, and you're welcome to submit your questions during the presentation. Simply type your question into the Ask a Question window and click Submit. Also, we are recording this event, and the on-demand version will be available from the same link that you used to join today's call. So feel free, please, to come back, watch the archive, or share it with your colleagues. And finally, the slides are available for download from the Event Resources tab located along the top of the interface. With that, let me hand it over to Suzanne.
Thanks, Geeta. Hi, everybody. Really excited to be here today to talk to you guys about Unified Endpoint Management, which I'm sure for many of you is a topic that you're probably starting to talk about, particularly because if you look at your environment today, right, it's becoming extremely complex. So before you just had your desktops and laptops, but now all of a sudden you've got mobile devices, right, smartphones, tablets, even thin clients, and some of you might even are starting to look at bringing in IoT devices into your environment. And I think the other thing that's sort of adding to the complexity today is the introduction of Windows 10, which is very different, as most of you are starting to realize, because unlike prior versions of Windows, with Windows 10, you're getting updates on the operating system much more frequently. So a lot of this points to the fact that your traditional client management tools like Microsoft SCCM, they're really no longer sufficient to be able to manage all the complexity that you're going through today. And so really what's happening is that more companies are starting to look at what's referred to as Unified Endpoint Management, which essentially takes your existing client management tools that you've been using for a long time, right, to provision, update your laptops and desktops, and UEM combines that with enterprise mobility management, which again many of you are starting to use in your environment because of the the growth of the smartphones and all your mobile devices. So essentially that's what UEM is. It's a combination of making it easy for you to manage all these devices in your environment through both client management tools and enterprise mobility management. So if we look at the components of UEM, there are basically 5 primary components. The first is mobile device management for managing the mobile devices, mobile application management, and that allows you to manage the applications on the mobile device. Identity management, right, so that you understand who's accessing your network from these devices. Content management, right, being able to provide access to users' files and data. And then the last is containment. And containment, particularly given in today's world, right, where more users are bringing in their own mobile device or even in some cases their own laptops or desktops. So you really need the concept of containment, which separates the user's personal information from the company data. So just a quick overview in terms of Unified Endpoint Management for those of you who the concept is relatively new. So what I want to do at this point is bring my colleague on board, Amandeep, and he's going to walk you through essentially how Citrix can help you with Unified Endpoint Management. So, Aman, I'm going to turn this over to you, and you can tell them all about the Citrix Workspace and our Unified Endpoint Management solution.
Great. Well, thank you, Suzanne, for the nice intro as well as a brief introduction to UEM as well as Workspace. Myself, I'm Amandeep Nagra. I'm a product marketing manager for Workspace services. And as you understand, Workspace is getting complex. So the whole end user computing is getting more converged with all the services ranging from your your Zen apps and desktop, your virtual environments, to your mobile device management, file sharing, and all of this is further complex by your multiple cloud services that you have, ranging from Salesforce, Concur, as well as having services hosted in AWS or Azure. So you need a place which embraces hybrid clouds, but also provides security and context around all the capabilities that you have. So a single pane of glass to manage all your services, but also provide security and analytics around that as well. So going on to Citrix Zen Mobile, Citrix Zen Mobile is a comprehensive UEM service that provides you granular device management capabilities. We offer MDM as well as MAM-only solutions with enterprise-grade encryption and security. So we touch everything from application management, content management, email management, content collaboration, as well as providing our own suite of productivity apps. And on the very latest side, we've also added capabilities on embracing Microsoft Office 365, or in a very broad sense, the EMS suite. Today, I want to walk through here around the new capabilities that we have added in the Zen Mobile 10.7. So, as you know, UEM is the Unified Endpoint Management revolves mostly around the new capabilities of Windows 10 and Mac OS. And even among the two, I would say Windows 10 is the biggest revelation, starting from Windows 10 Redstone Release 2 and 3, and then now other updates that have come out. What has become clear is that the vision of Windows 10 is over-the-air management, is the lightweight, modern MDM-style management of those devices. So when we talk about that, Microsoft Windows has actually introduced a lot of new capabilities, some of which I plan to actually show today around WIP, or Windows Information Protection, BitLocker encryption, Business Store, OS updates, and Windows 32 applications. And then we will also go through various new capabilities that we have added around Mac OS as well, ranging from capabilities added around device enrollment program, file vault encryption, as well as new restrictions and new capabilities that we have added. And finally, I'll be walking through various new capabilities that we have recently added to Secure Mail, as well as the integration of Secure Mail with some other Citrix products like Citrix ShareFile, as well as Zen Apps and Desktop. So moving on, I would like to show my screen here, and would like to log in to Citrix Zen Mobile console and go from there. In the console, we'll actually start by, we have three main tabs here, starting with Analyze, Manage, and Configure. So the Analyze tab walks you through the basic widgets and analytics dashboard that we have, as well as the reporting capabilities that we have baked into Zen Mobile to look at how your different apps, platforms, enrollment, or even failed deployments look like. On the Manage side, we go into the devices and user details. So if you have certain devices that are already enrolled, we can search for those, add filters if we know which OS platforms or which users they belong to, and same goes for users as well. Most importantly, we're now onto the Configure tab, which walks us through various policies that we have configured, as well as various delivery groups onto which users satisfying a particular criteria get those policies. So on the device policies, I wanted to show you guys certain capabilities around Windows 10 to begin with. So I'm going to choose a platform, Windows 10 here. And as you can see, there are 18 policies that show up right away. Wanted to start with showing up Control OS updates. So I'm going to give it a name here, walk down directly to Windows Desktop Tablet. As you can see, we can control Windows OS updates for different platforms, and we have integrated that capability under one policy. So now if you want to manage OS updates for your iOS, for Mac OS, for Samsung Safe devices, as well as Windows Desktop, you can push them all in one go. So Windows allows us to choose, various activity mode hours in which, this action should or should not happen. You can also specify whether the auto updates should get just downloaded or should get downloaded and installed, or just get, they will auto install with the notification. We can also set up some defer times, as in the days through which these features will be delayed on certain devices. So we can set up those timelines here and then configure other settings around quality updates. Sometimes administrators prefer that only security updates go down to the device and not necessarily quality updates. So we can specify those as well. Certain updates are for just home users, others specifically for business. So we generally choose current branch for business. And then in case you also have your Windows Server set up internally, which is WSUS, then you can also specify the WSUS server details and then go from there. So as you can see, we have a very flexible deployment capabilities here. You can obviously choose in terms of rules and set up conditions when and how these policies should get applied, that the user should get this policy only when it is compliant or the ownership is full MDM or corporate owned, but not necessarily a user owned device. So we can set up different deployment rules here. And then when it comes to assignment, we can choose different delivery groups, and then also set up a schedule as to should this device get, or should this policy go down to all these devices right away, or you want to specify a certain time and a day when these should go down. So similarly, we have also set up policies for BitLocker as well as Windows 32 applications. So while I'm walking you through all these capabilities in the console, I would also be showing you the device experience. So in the interest of time, I've already set up the BitLocker policy in terms of whether the device requires encryption and what kind of encryption methods that we have specified. We can also set up TPM startup, PIN, and key. And then as you can see, all the details around recovery and removable drive settings can also be configured. The assignment tab remains the same. So that's BitLocker. Similarly, we have Windows 32 applications and other capabilities from setting up of Exchange, Exchange Active Sync, as well as passcode, setting up different restrictions. So if we choose restrictions, again, we have collated all the platforms that we support and all the restrictions for all these platforms under one restrictions banner. So I can simply choose which platforms I want this policy to get deployed to, and then go from there. So as you can see, we can set up use of various storage devices, non-Microsoft email, whether you want to allow use of cellular data for VPN, allow using Wi-Fi Sense, Cortana, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, set up changing the date, time, etc. So there are tons of capabilities that we are adding here. The idea is that all these capabilities are available to the administrator from a single pane of glass from where they're already managing their iOS, Android, and Mac OS devices. Earlier, these capabilities were limited, so a lot of these capabilities, such as Defender and BitLocker, were not available for the admins to be leveraged from a mobility console. So as you understand, Windows Defender is the Microsoft's in-house antivirus capability, and we can obviously set up policies for Windows Defender here as well. One of my favorite capabilities that is obviously around the security and the DLP, data loss prevention story, is the Windows Information Protection. Windows Information Protection makes sure that all the devices that have Windows Information Protection enabled for a certain set of apps or domains have a briefcase icon right next to it, and then those apps or the content from those domains, even in a web browser, are encrypted over and above the BitLocker encryption. So anytime I have a BitLocker enabled Word document, if I have a WIP enabled, so Windows Information Protection enabled Word document, and I have content on it which I would like to copy to an unsanctioned or unencrypted space, that cut, copy, paste can be disallowed through the console, or we can allow that cut, copy, paste, but we would notify the admin if that whether that such action has occurred or not. As you can see here, I've added Internet Explorer, Notepad, OneDrive, Chrome as different apps on my desktop that are Windows Information Protection enabled. Similarly, there are various Microsoft Store apps that I have defined in terms of Edge, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft apps that are WIP enabled. So the idea is that any of these apps or any of these domains, even when accessed through a browser, every time these files are accessed, you would see a briefcase icon notifying that these are WIP-enabled apps. Before I go into the demo, I would also want to show various capabilities we have on the Mac OS side. So we have about 20 capabilities, and obviously we have grouped all the restrictions, the 50 restrictions that we have, under one restrictions banner for all the products. So for now, I'm going to just choose Mac OS and then show you all the capabilities here, ranging from use of Game Center and Safari autofill, AirDrop, AirPrint, etc. Now, as you can see, we also list down all the new capabilities that require a certain version. So as new Mac OS versions become available, we keep adding the MDM style restrictions that are available with them. And then you can pretty much see here what is the minimum condition for that capability to work. So Mac OS 10.12 plus will mean that we can allow or disallow Apple Music on any Mac OS which is MDM managed and is 10.12 or above. Similarly, we have capabilities for 10.12.4, 10.11, and all the versions that are available. Okay. Going back to the list of all the capabilities that we have for Mac OS, file vault encryption is another security-enabled capability that we have in terms of enabling file vault encryption on the device. We can also allow or disallow AirPlay mirroring and control OS updates. So again, controlling OS update is one of the prime requirements that a lot of admins have. So I wanted to show you that we can help you set those up for the devices. One of the things to note is that for Mac OS, the capabilities allowed to us from Mac OS range between only those two sets of capabilities. That is, download and install or download and notify. And you can set up the checkup on the server timeline. Really, the details that we saw in the Windows OS control are not available with Mac OS today. But, Mac High Sierra, we have high hopes with it that it will enable more capabilities, and then we will be able to make those services available to our end users. So at this point, I would switch gears a little bit and change the screen share. All right. So now, flipping back to my device, a Windows 10 Surface Pro tablet, I pushed down a mail setting profile here. So as you can see, Exchange Active Sync settings have been pushed down to this device. Let me actually start off by showing you that I have enrolled this device and I have created an account on it. So if I click on Access Work or School, you can see that this device is enrolled, and there are various server details that I'm connected onto. I pushed down various policies to this device, ranging from Exchange Active Sync, Bitdefender, as well as Store and Windows Information Protection, and OS Control. So I'm going to walk all of you today through all the capabilities from the device user experience perspective. So let's start off with mail. So as you can see, I can only push down the server details and username details to the account, but I cannot push down the actual password. So it gave me a pop-up that you have received new capabilities, but you also need the password. So now it is asking me, when I enter that password, it's saying, are you sure you want to update your mail account? So I added those mail account to this. All right. So in the meantime, when these mails show up, oh, they did. So as you can see, my mail account has been configured here, and it says I have 198 unread emails. My calendar is popping up as well. And then I can see in a second what all different capabilities I have here in terms of weekly calendar, work week. All right. So while this is set, I will go ahead and show you the next capability in terms of Windows Defender. So Windows Defender pops up, says your device is being protected. And I'm going to go into and look at various protections that have been set up for it. So as you can see now, if I try to say edit the protection settings, those settings are actually grayed out. And they're grayed out because these capabilities are being managed by the administrator through a policy that has been pushed down to it. I'm already getting reminders because I have also set up Exchange Active Sync. So next up, I would want to show capabilities on the Windows OS update. So I'll go back to Settings. Right here. Go back to Update and Security. And then I have Windows Update. As you can see, up line over here, which says in the red, some items are hidden or managed by your organizer. And if I were to say, click on Advanced Options. Again, these advanced options have been configured by my administrator, which I just pushed down through the portal. As you can see, the feature updates or quality updates, I have set up a delay for 5 days. So those are being represented here. I have set up only business updates to go down to my device. So those are also getting reflected. And I've also chosen the updates to show up on my device as soon as they become available. So as you can see, the update policy is being managed from here. And I can look at the update history as to what all were the previous updates that I installed before on this device. Another capability that we have pushed down is BitLocker. So I'm actually go into BitLocker and say, change how drive is unlocked at. I'm going to say choose one of these capabilities. And then as you can see, it says some settings are managed by your administrator. So these policies are also managed remotely by the administrator. Okay, so that was BitLocker encryption managed remotely by the administrator. We also pushed down our own Citrix store. That is one of the policies here. So I'm going to open the Citrix store in Microsoft Edge. This will show up all the apps that are assigned on the Windows 10 device. When I click on Add, it opens up Microsoft Store, and it's going to launch the apps that I set up as part of the business app. Now, one of the key things to note here is you saw this briefcase icon, and you're seeing this because I defined this reader app as part of my business app. And not just the apps that reside on the device, even the documents and even the web domains that I access. So currently I'm accessing a web domain, which is my OneDrive domain. As you know, OneDrive points to my personal or my business SharePoint. So it also shows up with the briefcase icon here. So now if I'm going to download any of these apps or any of these documents, I say open it in Word. So now this file is opened in Word directly from that domain. If I try to save this or say copy the content of this document, we try to paste it in a domain that is not managed by Windows Information Protection. So I'm going to go on to google.com. As you can see now, I copied content from Word, which had some permissions applied on it. That is Windows Information Protection. And when I tried to paste that data onto an unsanctioned web domain, which is google.ca, it is asking me to give access to it. It sees it needs your permission. And this is because this is not an allowed domain. Now, I have relaxed settings here in which I have set up allow access. This can also be set up for default deny. Now, coming to the desktop, if you come to the desktop, you will also see a bunch of briefcase icons here. So let me make this bigger a little bit. So these briefcase icons signify that these documents are all work managed. Every time I get an option to save a document, it will show, and these were downloaded from a managed domain, the briefcase icon will show up by default, showing that these devices, this file is a work managed. And obviously I have a choice to change it to personal as well. So this is all I have to show on the Windows 10 demo device. Now I'll switch gears and show you some capabilities that we added recently, as well as some capabilities that have been very handy on secure mail in the past. All right, so as you can see, I have my iPad through which I wanted to show you some really cool features of secure mail. As you can see, this is my apps section within Secure Hub, wherein all the apps that I have downloaded myself are showing up. We also have a store, which will show all the apps ranging from the mobile apps, web apps, cloud apps, as well as virtual apps there. There are various categories wherein you can see the different enterprise or mobile apps that are assigned to me. So within store, I'm going to pick and choose other apps that I have not yet downloaded, but I may or may not need in future. So I'm going to click on one of those apps. Sorry, give me a second. Right. Let's go to Secure Mail. So Secure Mail has a lot of new capabilities that we have recently added. The first one being we can add multiple Exchange accounts. So if I tap on Exchange account, I can add another mail account here, set up the server details and the sync mail period as well. There's been a request for a long time by a lot of our customers that they want to use one app for their multiple accounts. So we've added that. You can also set up out of office here and set up the automated replies within your organization as well as outside your organization, and these will get activated in your actual Exchange. Again, you can set up various capabilities between whether you want to load these attachments on Wi-Fi or not, set up your signature, which will get appended to every email you send from this device. And then if for some reason you're not feeling, you have some feedback to give in terms of, some app is being crashing or you're not having the best experience, you can send feedback directly to Citrix from here as well. Let's go to the other capabilities that we have added, which I'm really excited about, is first of all, setting up a classification of email. So a lot of government and public sector customers suggested that they needed a category here. So we can choose confidential, secret to begin with, and this will get appended up in front with all the emails that you send alongside that. In terms of attachments, we have a lot of capabilities ranging from choosing attachments that are already on the device, taking a new photo, or choosing photographs which are taken from which are already available in the gallery. So I'm going to first choose email from the other mail attachments that I already have. So before I do that, let me show you that we also have an attachment repository. Now, this repository is just a list of all the attachments that are available in your mailbox. They're not necessarily downloaded, but I can tap on any of those, view those attachments, and then click on this download button at the bottom, right? And then this will get downloaded. Now I can go to the Offlines tab, and then this will show me all the files that are already downloaded. So switching gears, going back to the mail account, and then trying to add attachments. So these are all the attachments that I actually don't even have to download, and I can simply choose to select them and attach them. Now, what if these are certain attachments that I've already downloaded? So then I can go to Offline Files. You can see a small download button right next to it, which signifies these files are already downloaded, and then I can attach these files as well. Now, but not all files that you need to attach are available in your mailbox, and that's why we have ShareFile, which is our enterprise file sync and share solution. So when I flip to ShareFile, this will open up ShareFile app within Secure Mail and is going to ask me to choose various attachments from my existing downloads, and I can choose those attachments, and then this will create a link, and now that link has been added below this email. So it makes it really easy to share documents within the Mail app. And the idea is that we enable mobile workflows, we enable mobile lifestyles in which you don't actually have to have a full-blown PC or a Mac to be able to send attachments, to be able to initiate mobile approval workflows. Another great thing, as you can see here, is we have a share file app, and we also have, other apps which are not actually mobile apps. So as you can see, I have apps like Paint, or I have apps like Internet Explorer, and I'm running on an iOS iPad. So how do we make that happen? And that's because we have integration with XenApp and XenDesktop, and you can access those apps as well. In the interest of time, for now, I'm going to show you our ShareFile app and how to initiate approval workflows from ShareFile. So we logged into ShareFile. These are my personal folders. I can choose to select a file, and then if I need to share this file with someone to get feedback on it, I can actually, and this is a new capability, I can initiate a feedback approval flow here. And when I try to type in the name of the person, this auto-populates, and then I can obviously add inside or outside the domain. Some users can be in carbon copy as well, and then write a message that you need to send to that user. And finally, start the approval workflow. So this is a very handy capability when your approval workflows are limited only to documents. But that's not always the case, and for which ShareFile added another capability, which is called ShareFile Workflows, which is a kind of a custom workflow. So the way this works is, in the admin portal, I created a form which has a claim submission capability in it, in which you can type in name, scan barcode, take signatures, take location, etc. So that was submitted to be pushed down to all the users, and this now showed up on my device. So, and this was, by the way, created in a UI fashion, zero coding. So I can create audio notes in here, and then these audio notes are being taken live. Once those audio notes are taken, click done. The audio notes are, you can add multiple of those. You can enter an address of the incident where it happened, or actually locate the location. Now, as you can see, it says your admin has blocked the location, which I blocked for this app while pushing down the MDM. Now, you can specify on a picture that you have taken by tapping on it exactly which part of a particular person or a particular device or a gadget, or in this case, a Red Bull car needs work. And obviously, I can change our colors as to where some work is required and put my comments right next to it. So once that is done, I can also initiate a signature here. So once the signature is done, I have the option to submit the form. So this form will be submitted in a PDF manner or in a Excel manner, and then collated together later on. And then this form is now available to be used in the field for other users as well. You can look at the repository of the submitted forms up here in Submitted, and it will start showing up as Claim 1, Claim 2, and then this will be available to the admin for access later on. Now I'll flip back to the slides. All right. So these are all the demos that I wanted to show you. And now moving on, we showcased you a lot of capabilities that have already been added to Zen Mobile. We also wanted to make sure we don't lose sight on other capabilities that we have, as well as some roadmap items. So as you can see, all the text written in white are the capabilities that we have today. And then text written in blue are the capabilities that we are adding by the end of this month, so in a very near future. So as you can see here on Windows 10, we have capabilities ranging from app management to OS management, as well as security and basic and mobile provisioning. Similarly, on macOS, lots of capabilities on the restrictions and compliance side, as well as OS updates. and then we're going to add capabilities on Mac app delivery as well as custom app scripts. On the iOS, we already have a very comprehensive coverage. We support iOS 11 new commands today, and we support multi-DEP, VPP, Apple School Manager, and pretty much everything that you can do with iOS today. On the Android side, we're going to add support for work-managed devices, but we already support Android for work profile managed devices. We recently added support for OS updates on Samsung ePhoto-enabled devices, and lots of other capabilities are already present. So what to expect in future? In future, we are going to add, and in the very near future, we're going to add support from Chrome OS, wherein this will be a full-blown MDM enrollment as well as restrictions. You will also see Workspace Hub and Raspberry Pi, support for Windows 10. Just as we have support for iOS device enrollment program, we're going to add support for Android Zero Touch as well as Windows Autopilot. And then last but not the least, we are adding capabilities around analytics for the unified Citrix Workspace as well as federated identity. On a more marketing note, I wanted to share with you that we are very pleased to let you guys know that Citrix was named a leader in 2017 IDC MarketScape as for enterprise mobility, wherein there was clear mention of strengths of Citrix in better integration of all the products, Citrix, as well as NetScaler as being the key strength in liaisoning all the integrations between different products of Citrix. Around secure mail, I showed you a lot of capabilities. This is just for your reference in terms of all the capabilities that we have added in the past 6 months, ranging from support for Skype for Business, being able to join GoToMeeting with one click, attachment file repository, as well as multiple Exchange accounts, as I walk you through. One of the things we've recently added is around swipe gestures as well. So you can swipe to reply, to archive, read, unread, or even undo various functions. We added calendar overlay. So if you have your personal calendar and you would like that calendar to show up in your corporate calendar as a view, not integrated, but just a view, only available to you, that's a great help, as now you don't have to flip back between different calendars and figure out your personal events with your business events. We also added support for Apple Wallet for secure mail, and recently have just added support for Skype for Business with one-touch meeting join. So that concludes most of the demo that I have. I'll ask Geeta if there are some questions for us.
Yes, thank you, Aman, and great presentation, Suzanne and Aman. Very interesting information. So yes, we do have some questions coming in. So before we move into the Q&A, I would like to remind our audience that if you have a question for our speakers, please submit it in the Ask a Question area on your screen. Simply type the question into the text box and hit Submit. So here's our first question from John. He wants to know, how does deploying a UEM solution prepare my organization for a digital workspace? Suzanne, would you like to take that?
Sure, I can start, and then Aman, you can add on. So I think one of the things to think about when you're looking at UEM is I think a lot of the focus is around device management, right, and managing things, a user's environment from sort of what I would call the old model, right, which is just making sure that the user's device has the latest OS updates, right, it's got the latest patches, and maybe, I've been able to provide them with some of their core applications. But from our experience, that's really just the beginning, because if you think about a user today, they need access to a number of different type of apps, right? They might need access to SaaS apps, web apps. Maybe you've got some legacy Windows desktop apps that They need to have virtualized and delivered on a mobile device because now, listen, they want to use their favorite tablet. So you need to think about the delivery of all the applications, and that's part of what the vision of a workspace is access to all the applications. And then as Aman showed, obviously it's not just the applications that the users need access to. They also need access to their files, right? And with ShareFile, we can provide that regardless of the device that they're using, right? That's the beauty of ShareFile. And then going beyond that, what Aman showed as well was the fact that users today, really, a lot of what they're doing are, processes and workflows, right? And so now with something like ShareFile, you can start to automate all of that so that regardless of where they're at, what type of device they're doing, and if there's some workflows that they're doing on a regular basis, right, you want to be able to deliver all of that through a workspace. And again, so think of UEM as just sort of the stepping stone to delivering a broader workspace to your user.
Great. Thank you, Suzanne. The next question I have is, how does Citrix Analytics tie into various products from Citrix? Aman?
Sure, I can take that. So that's a great question, and I think we have the right slide on the screen as well, talking about Citrix Workspace. The idea is that analytics is supposed to be the bedrock. Analytics and security is supposed to be the bedrock of everything Citrix does. To tie all the products together and bring visibility and context to the user. Let me see if I can show my screen and actually show you secure digital workspace, the vision that we have, something that we shared with our customers during live events at Summit and Synergy. So Citrix Secure Digital Workspace really encompasses everything ranging from the endpoint devices, which is unified endpoint management solution, to, on the other hand, to the app ops, that is every app or any app that you would need, as well as control on your data in terms of any data that you have wherever it is, hosted in Box or SAP or Microsoft Azure, and getting all that access in a contextual access manner, which means that if a user is accessing from Asia and then a few minutes later a user is accessing the same data or a different file but registered from a physical device which is in Europe and then is hopping through different servers in US, that's the red alert. That's the analytics that we are going to have to get that amount of visibility on a user and device level to shut down any kind of, unscrupulous activities or prevent any kind of damage that a rogue user can do. So the whole idea of analytics is to become the bedrock of everything that Citrix does.
Wonderful. Thank you. We do have a few questions, but I think I might squeeze in a couple more really quick here. So the next question is, what are some of the infrastructure factors that organizations may need to consider before implementing UEM? Suzanne? Or
yeah, so
Aman?
one of the things I think to keep in mind when you think about the infrastructure, particularly I think with a lot of customers, right, you're already thinking about moving to the cloud, right? In fact, you see this on the screen as far as some of your core application. From a UEM perspective, I think one of the benefits that Citrix allows you to do is we can deliver all of this to you through our cloud solution. That's the workspace, right, so everything that you're seeing here, such that the management of your workspace is done by the cloud. You can still, if you want to decide to have your data on-prem or whatever, we can support that as well. So I think the beauty is that it really doesn't take a lot in terms of changing your infrastructure requirements. And again, if you, with Citrix, right, the management of a lot of this, we can take that burden on for you and provide that management in our cloud, right, so that we can alleviate a lot of the complexity.
Great. Thank you. I think we have a bunch of questions, but what I'm going to do is just slip in one last question, and for the rest of the folks, we will get in touch to answer your question directly. But here's the last question for this session here. Can I apply the same set of device and application policies across Windows 10, iOS, Android, and Mac devices?
Yeah, great question. So first things first, not all platforms actually support exactly the same number of policies and exactly in the same fashion. So what that means is these devices would, if it's an iOS device or an Android device, yes, basic policies like Wi-Fi, passcode, Bluetooth restrictions will remain, or configuring Exchange Active Sync will remain common across most of the platforms. But once you go beyond basic capabilities, there are certain restrictions or MDM capabilities that are available only for that platform. So we have tried our level best to have those restrictions as well as those MDM policies that are pretty much the same across all platforms grouped together under one policy, so that our administrators don't have to set up multiple policies for multiple platforms. And that way, for example, if you have to set up a passcode, you can set up one policy for all the platforms that Zenmo will support. Similarly, you can set up one policy for Wi-Fi or one policy for restrictions. Those restrictions might vary in number from, let's say, 50 restrictions for iOS to 30 restrictions for macOS, but we've still grouped them together so that it makes it easier for our administrators to manage that.
Great. Thank you, Aman. And nice presentation, Suzanne and Aman. And we have an audience with an engaged audience with a bunch of questions here that we will address directly to them in the interest of time. So once again, thank you very much. This brings us to the end of today's session. A quick reminder, you can check out and register for upcoming webinars and events by going to the citrix.com/events page. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great day.